This video is published by mbkpinternational.com. In this video, we're going to talk about replacing the clamp bearing, it's the bottom one, on the Guillotine XPC19 PRO paper cutter. First thing you want to do is turn this cutter on. We need to drop the blade. So I just want to basically hold these cut buttons, and I'm going to let it go when the blade's about a half inch to inch from the bottom. I want it to get as close to the red pad as possible. So let's stop there. And now we're going to turn it off and go ahead and unplug it. And we'll remove this top crown and this back shield. Again, Phillips screws, I've already taken them out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just move it out of the way. And then you got 2 screws on each side. Phillips again, take those out, both sides. Then you can lift this up. And you could hook it behind there if you're by yourself, or if you got a second person, they can unplug this one right here for you, the one that goes up. It could be reversed on that. Sometimes they're reversed, so you just gotta look for the one going up to unplug. Okay, now we're gonna take this belt off, and basically the clamp's all the way down, so I'm gonna pull the back this way, and it's gonna be kind of stuck, so I'm gonna bounce it pop until I break it free. Just don't get your finger caught in these gears when you're turning it, and you can bring this clamp a little past halfway. Maybe if you want to get past that gear, you should be good. Just past that bearing, I'm sorry. That's the bearing right here we're going to be removing and replacing. Okay, once it's off, you can go ahead and take this by pulling up and rotating. Get this off. Went up a little higher, so it doesn't matter. Okay, now we need to take this off here. So we need a 4mm on that. And usually you can just hold this and turn it and break it free. If this is too tight, you just have to keep turning it, and the clamp will go all the way down. And then when it gets down, it won't turn anymore. Then you can break it free, but usually you can just hold it and break it free. This should slide off easy. And then we gotta take that part off. Before we do that, I'm gonna come around back with a 3mm hex, and we're gonna take off it's the bottom screw to this shaft up here. This shaft up here goes all the way down through, and there's the bottom of it, and there's a Phillips screw, not a Phillips, there's a 3mm hex there, and I'm gonna do it. You go ahead and pause it. Okay, I got this screw out. Sometimes it comes with the washer, and sometimes it's just this screw that comes, and the washer stays stuck up in there. It's like a double washer. It's got a plastic one and a metal one. Usually they stay stuck up in there, but it can come with this. So we'll just keep it together. I'm gonna come back around front and take this gear off here. We can go, basically take this, go ahead and pause it. I'm gonna put this gear, I need my gear. Okay, I went ahead and put this gear puller on it. I went ahead and screwed the screw that was on top of this in there, because mine has a fine point on it, and it will go down into the threads and mess up the threads. So I threaded the screw back in there, and I just put this on top of the screw, so I don't mess up my threads. And I'm gonna hold this while I pull this out. Some of these actually, they're not on as that tight, and if you got a little strength, you can pull them straight off by your hand. But some of them are on a little snugger, and you may need a gear puller. So I'm doing it with the gear puller just in case it just doesn't come straight off by hand. Okay. Okay, we can now we're just gonna take this off. There's 4 3mm hex screws. We're gonna go ahead and pause. I'm gonna take all those out. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and I got 3 of these out. There's 1 left. I'm gonna go ahead and put this just this sponge here, sander sponge, to catch this clamp's gonna fall down when we take this last one out. Come around front. Okay, I got this last one left. And as this comes up, you can see this shaft will come up and this clamp starts dropping. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes you'll take this out and it will stay there, and you can take this top piece off and it stays there. If that happens, you just rotate this by hand back and forth, and a lot of times it'll pop free. But you may want to have something under your clamp to catch your clamp as it falls, because it's going to fall. There's the last one. And basically, sometimes this will just come off, and this will stay in here like this. And if that's the case, you can rotate this here back and forth, and usually it'll come free. If that doesn't work, you can come around back, and using a rubber mallet, you can tap lightly here, light there, or even put a piece of wood there and tap with a regular hammer. It doesn't take much, just light taps, and it'll fall. It will drop and fall. You can even you could even rotate this back and forth while you're doing that. Somebody could. Let's bring around front here. Some just get stuck a little bit, but it's basically this shaft in there is stuck a little bit as soon as it pops through. That's why when you turn it, this shaft turns, it usually breaks free, but this one came free. Okay, now you can see this is the bearing we're after here. You can take this out. This is a new bearing I put in here. I haven't greased it yet, and I'm not gonna keep it in here. This is just this video. So you should grease this with some bearing grease. Grease it on both sides, bearing grease, and it will come in a 3-piece like this. So you want to make sure you get the groove side into the bearing on both of these. They got grooves on one side and they're flat on the other. So the groove side goes to the bearing. Make sure it's nice and greased in there on both sides of the bearing. After you remove it, you're going to be putting your new one in. Just line it up with the hole. And there's a bearing here. You might as well grease it while you got it. So put that, grease it, and put it down in here. And we're just going to push this down and put one of these screws in there to hold it. Just kind of line this up as you're going down it, all the way down. And I'm going to put one of these screws in here just to hold it so it doesn't fall. Okay, it's good. Now I'm going to go finish off putting all 4 screws in. We'll pause it. Okay, I got all this all the way pushed down. All the screws are in. You should be able to see this other bearing here about that. I just want to show you what it's going to look like. That's about where it should be. That much showing when this is all the way down, and this is all the way in. We're going to go around back. We're going to put the screw in the back, the bottom screw. And it's just right. You can move your whatever you had there to hold the clamp up, and it just goes there into that hole. And I'm going to put it in by hand and tighten it down. You can go ahead and pause this. Okay, I had this screw in here. I'm just going to take this out when I did the clamp, so I don't mess up my threads here with the gear puller. Take that out. And then we're just going to put this back on. You obviously got a pin there. You're just going to line it up to that groove. And then once you got it lined up and you're sure you got it lined up, you can tab it down. Probably be better with a rubber mallet. I've got one working right now. Until it goes flat there. And then we're going to put this back on. You can see it's got this groove here for this part right there. I'm just going to get it in the groove. That way it goes back and forth. And then put your washer back, your screw back. Okay, I think I said it, but this bottom part that came out, it had those 4 screws in it, those 3mm. Make sure you get all 4 in nice and tight on that. Can't remember if I mentioned it earlier. But there goes. And then we're basically going to put the belt back on. Pretty simple too. You just hook it on the back here, and hook it in either in the front or the back, and just rotate it now. Again, just watch your fingers so you don't get in the caught or anything. Well, that's it. It was just on straight. That's pretty much it. We're going to put the crown back on. Make sure everything's tight. You want to make sure this is tight, because these can come loose. So a lot of time the best way to do it is just because it's hard to hold, just rotate until the clamp comes all the way up. Then you can put some torque on it, make sure it's tight. Okay, and then you can, once you do that, you can break it through and put the clamp down a little bit because it's up past the sensor now. Okay, we're going to go ahead and pause it while I get the crown. Okay, I got this back on. That's tight. That bottom piece had those 4 3mm hex screws in it. I made sure those were tight, and we got the 1 screw in the bottom of this, the 3mm hex, nice and tight there too. So all of them are tight. One thing you probably want to do is just by hand rotate this clamp up and down fully. Make sure it's working properly. Be careful here and get your fingers caught on this gear here. I'll just rotate it fully. Make sure you grease that. It goes up and down fully like it should, smoothly by hand. So we're going to go ahead and everything looks good on the clamp. We're going to go ahead and put the crown back on. And that's pretty simple. If you're by yourself, if you got a second person, they can plug it in for you now, but you can always hook behind here and hold it on this other side while you plug it in. Just make sure you get all the prongs. There's 4 of them. And then down here. And just make sure you get it on the right side. Like some people get it just like that. You get it on both sides. That's good. Pretty simple. Now you put your put your screws in here on both sides, and then you get your back shield on. drop your 4 screws in there as well. Once that's done, you can obviously turn it on and do a test with it. So the clamps down, the blade's down, I want to reverse it. I don't want to try to power through a cut. You never want to do that. You always want to start with the blade in the up position. So to center, I'm going to reverse it. Now we're going to do a test cut. Everything's working good. This video was published by mbkpinternational.com.